Welcome to the chaos sector. We return to the matrix. So, according to the unsealed yet concealed documentation, there was a DoorDash delivery at 3:59 a.m. Kohlberger allegedly arrived in the neighborhood around 3:30 a.m. and snooped around until around 4 a.m. and finally entered the home. Okay, now this is what the reports claim. But let's crunch this time frame down because someone had to be spotted by surveillance. Now here's a screenshot of the document, which has literally everything blanked out. Yep, that means that information is being kept secret. Why release it if you're not going to reveal the details of it? It's not the same as the affidavit, where someone's name or personal information is being kept secret. The entire list of details in this receipt has been blanked out. Credit card information should be blanked out, of course. But why is there a huge blank covering the bulk of information, though? Let's find out why. Well, we know why, but. Okay, the receipt's details that are provided are left visible. The time was 3:59 a.m. The price was $22.35. The business was Jack in the Crack, and the driver ID, which is the most important here, is listed as 17666374. Wow, triple sixes? Well, we can all agree that Bonnie is the devil, so it's fitting. But hold on, they had no problem revealing the personal information about Kaylee's purchase at the corner club. It has the server's name, the time and date it was reprinted, reprint server's name, the customer's name being Kaylee, her card number, authorization, transaction type, and how much she spent. If all of that is revealed, then what is blanked out to the right side? What else needs to be kept a secret if you've already displayed Kaylee's personal information? There are two more columns, so this could be another purchase. Or a summary of the surveillance footage from the corner club? Who the hell knows? Now, of course, it is reported that Zana was waiting for this order and was also on TikTok during this time frame. Well, the delivery arrived at 3:56 a.m. Yep, that's right. The vehicle that is spotted by the neighbor's security camera at 3:56 a.m. is the DoorDash driver. Delivered at 3:59 a.m., yet it was not ordered by the client? What type of order is this if the client never ordered the food to be delivered? Someone wanted to do it as a nice gesture for that client, or wanted to make it appear that the client was still alive during the time of the delivery when they were actually deceased. In the PCA, the DoorDash driver's identity was never revealed, but the private driver's was. Conceal the identity of the driver who was in the neighborhood and at the home approximately minutes before the murders took place. Oh, okay, that says a lot. But we have the surveillance footage, a snapshot from the neighbor's security camera, which is at 3:56 a.m. and aligns with the DoorDash delivery at 3:59 a.m. Now, why is it that they revealed Kaylee's purchase in detail from the corner club, but not the purchase from Ziana for the DoorDash delivery? You guessed it, because there would not be a charge on her card for that order. And everything crumbles into dust, because if she never ordered the damn crack, then someone else did. And that person would have to be sniffed out of the shadows.
It's been done already, yet they're hidden in plain sight. Everyone has to remember, the DoorDash driver was never cleared. I repeat, they were never cleared. They were never interviewed, such as Batman and his bogus accounts. Why didn't the DoorDash driver sit down and be interviewed? Think about it, if Moscow PD reports that the murders occurred between 3 and 4 a.m., and Xana was still alive around 4 a.m., this means the DoorDash driver was physically at the home merely minutes before the attacks unfolded. Surely News Nation was eager to speak to them, right? Law and Crime, Inside Edition. Heck, Moscow PD didn't clear this driver, so technically they're still a suspect. And they never identified the driver neither. So that also means they were never cleared. You want to know why they never identified the DoorDash driver? Because it would be a female named Emma Bailey who was the driver. I think the private driver was identified to deflect attention away from the DoorDash driver. He comes out and is interviewed, providing tips to law enforcement. But the person that needed to be identified, interviewed, and cleared was the DoorDash driver, which never happened. An order at 3:59 a.m.? It takes approximately 30 to 40 minutes for a delivery, we guesstimate. So this would be around 3:10 a.m. when the order was made. Okay, this would mean Xana was awake at 3 a.m. In the unsealed documents, it says that Xana was on TikTok around 3:16 a.m. Yet the DoorDash order, being the details of the purchase via bank records, is not listed. It says Bank of America bank records for Bethany and Xana. Hard drive was provided April 5th of 2023. But it says the state no longer intends to rely on this evidence. Well, I bet the defense will rely on it, because it would show that Xana never ordered from DoorDash that night. Sure, DoorDash was delivered, but unless there is financial records via a charge to Xana's bank account, which would be listed just like Kaylee's Corner Club receipt was listed, the state can't prove Xana actually ordered from DoorDash. And with that one problem, it opens the floodgates. Again, they provide a receipt of the DoorDash order and delivery, but they don't show that Xana actually ordered it with credit or debit card information. And once again, if it's on that receipt, why conceal that card information, but reveal Kaylee's? Well, because Xana's card wasn't used to order anything at that time. Again, think about this. They provided a receipt of Kaylee's purchase at the Corner Club, yet no actual proof that the receipt for the DoorDash was Xana's. The receipt has the delivery time, delivery ID, creator ID, subtotal, formatted address, street, city, state, zip code, country, latitude and longitude points, business name, dasher ID, and time zone. All of this is provided, it's visible. So what is being blanked out if all of this information is visible? Well, it would have to be the actual customer's information, which would be Bonnie's information, not Xana's. Imagine seeing the name Emma Bailey on this receipt. Then there's just the common sense of it all. Around 12 a.m., Xana and Ethan were eating pizza. And what about the receipt for that order, you see? They won't provide that one, because it's a bit unrealistic for them to have pizza and then have burgers later on. In that scenario, they're eating pizza and watching movies, fall asleep at some point, wake up around 3 a.m., then order Jack and a crack. What about the famous cold pizza everyone likes? Surely they had leftovers. Yet they want the public to believe Xana ordered $22 worth of food from Jack and a crack. That's like a few meals and other side orders. Come on, that would have been the order around 12 a.m. if that's the case. There's something else we need to go back to, and that's the time of Kaylee and Madison's arrival back home. Okay, let's break down each segment of video and the time it was captured of Kaylee and Madison. This will be in order. First, there was surveillance footage from the Corner Club, approximately 10:20 p.m. to 1:37 a.m. Okay, now this is surveillance from the Corner Club. Then you have surveillance footage captured from areas that apparently spotted the girls. There was surveillance footage from Cafe Arista, which was approximately 1:40 a.m. Then there was surveillance footage from a bagel shop, approximately from 1:40 a.m. to 2 a.m. The most viewed surveillance was from the grub truck, approximately from 1:43 a.m. to 1:53 a.m. Now, from 10:20 p.m. to 1:53 a.m., we have Kaylee and Madison at the Corner Club till 1:37 a.m., then walking to the grub truck, which we all spotted with Jack Showalter. This was approximately a 3 to 5 minute walk. They then are allegedly picked up around 1:53 a.m. and presumed to be driven back home by the so-called private driver, allegedly arriving back at 1:56 a.m. So generally, or approximately, they have the girls at the Corner Club from 10:20 p.m. to 1:37 a.m. Then a brief walk from the Corner Club to the grub truck is approximately 3 to 5 minutes, which is about 1:40 a.m. They reach the grub truck, are spotted on surveillance around 1:43 a.m., and leave approximately at 1:53 a.m. Now, although these times are provided, there is a key word here, and that's approximately. That's a key term, because approximately is generally speaking. So if the girls arrive back home at 1:56 a.m., it is approximately 2 a.m. Yet, if someone claimed they arrived specifically at 1:56 a.m., this is not approximate when we're dealing with details. It's a specific time provided based on some form of evidence, such as viewing surveillance that shows the time of 1:56 a.m., physically showing the girls arriving back at that time. You're probably wondering, it's still approximately 2 a.m., right? Well, someone wanted to make sure that the correct time was reported, remember? That would be Olivia. She wanted to make sure the time of 1:56 a.m. was reported as the time, instead of 1:45 a.m. That's 11 minutes in difference. So we understand why it's important to get the time correct. But going back to that aspect, how could Moscow PD get the wrong time? And how could Batman provide the wrong time? He's a private driver, right? Time and timing is something he has to be very meticulous about. So how could he report that it was 1:45 a.m. of dropping the girls off, when it was 1:56 a.m.? He can't get the time wrong. So the next question is, why did he initially provide that time then? We're going to assume it has something to do with the reported time of everyone else arriving back home, which was in fact alleged to be 1:45 a.m. Keep in mind, Dylan texted Batman at 2:10 a.m. and he responded at 2:13 a.m., stating he was driving the girls. Yet the actual text message between the two was not, I repeat, was not, provided. If you noticed, there isn't any proof of this time of arrival in this unsealed documentation. There isn't any residential video surveillance that proved Kaylee and Madison arrived back at 1:56 a.m. And this is because the time of their departure from the grub truck, alleged to be 1:53 a.m., would take more than 3 minutes to arrive back to the neighborhood. Now what we'll focus on is the time of travel from the grub truck to the neighborhood, because this was the last place Kaylee and Madison were before arriving back home. Now, based on the travel time, generally speaking, or approximately, it takes about 6 minutes to travel from Friendship Square to the neighborhood. Friendship Square is where the grub truck was stationed. Keep in mind, the grub truck was stationed on South Main Street. Batman would have to travel south on South Main Street, then hop onto Troy Road, then back onto South Main Street, all the way to Taylor Avenue, then head back to the neighborhood. Now this is approximately 6 minutes, give or take, but if they left the grub truck at 1:53 a.m., given traffic delays due to it being a party night in a college town, we can come to the logical time, past 1:56, into the 2 a.m. hour of the girls' arrival back home. And this aligns with Dylan's text message sent to Batman at 2:10 a.m., you see. The approximate time of 1:53 a.m. of them leaving the grub truck seems to be a few minutes later. How are they determining the time of their departure? Is it based on them walking away, which proves they were leaving? Or is it based on them physically leaving in the vehicle that pulled up and driving off? The problem here is, although it appears they may have been picked up by that vehicle, nobody can actually prove this. We're just assuming they got into that vehicle due to the likelihood that was the private driver. And that also supports the theory that the arrival may have been a few minutes later than 1:56 a.m. The reason we broke this down is because Olivia's claim of the girls arriving back at 1:56 a.m. is not true. There is no surveillance footage in the unsealed document that corroborates that claim. And Olivia is classified as a witness based on her claim, right? So if she witnessed two of the victims' arrival back home via that neighbor's security camera, why wasn't it included? Because that wasn't the time. Now, since there is no way to confirm the actual time, perhaps Olivia knows that the girls left the grub truck at, guess what, 1:56 a.m. 6 minutes in travel time, give or take, from the grub truck to the neighborhood gives you an approximate time of 2 a.m. to 2:05 a.m. And if you factor in the traffic in the wee hours of Sunday morning, which were still within the party hours, more time could have been added to that approximate time. Again, this aligns with the text messages between Dylan and Batman. Some would say that Dylan texted Batman to see if he was driving the girls at that time, because she didn't know they were at home. Well, that would be about 10 minutes from the time they arrived back to that text around 2:10 a.m. Surely she would know they were home before sending the text message around 2:10 a.m., right? In that setting, the text message does not make sense because she would know they were at home already. So the logical scenario would be they weren't at home yet and were on their way back during the time she sent the text message. Okay, there's lies everywhere. That's the point here. I want to go back to the issue regarding Xana's father. Someone posted that Xana didn't call Jeffrey. It was the other way around. It was claimed that Jeffrey wanted to see Xana before he left town, and Jasmine felt it wasn't a good idea as he had been drinking. And this was all within the time frame of 12 a.m. Now, if this were the case, it still doesn't eliminate the scenario of them being notified about the attacks and murders from college peers in Moscow. You see? It doesn't matter because they were next door in Pullman. A housemate had called about the attacks in real time in the home, and that information spread to WSU. What are the chances that Xana had called her father when she realized there was danger? Not when it occurred, but when she realized that there was danger growing, such as observing suspicious individuals at the party. Perhaps that's why they left the party, right? What about the alleged fight Ethan had? Do you think she may have called her father then? He's right around the corner in Pullman.
We would like to hear from our audience regarding this. Do you all think that Xana's family had been notified she was in danger at some point that night? Do you all think they were notified that she was murdered at some point prior to the Snapchat frenzy, and then later with the 911 call? Well, if you answer yes to these questions, then unfortunately we have to put the family in the hot seat. We're not blaming them for the deaths, But we do have to acknowledge that they were aware of those murders prior to the news spreading later Sunday. And that's also something to point out. If the chaos is not mistaken, none of the family members mentioned being notified during the time frame the Snapchat frenzy was spreading. Keep in mind, according to those text messages and social media activity, this would be as early as 4 a.m. to around 12 p.m. Sunday. Surely some of those college students contacted family members. WSU Kim was notified by her daughter, right? Parents talk just like college students. We have to suggest that WSU Kim may have been the first parent to be notified, and then we all know she can't keep her mouth shut, so she told other parents, and it spread like wildfire, yet kept a secret prior to law enforcement arriving at the home, you see. Kaylee's family was alleged to be from Rathdrum, Idaho. Madison's family was alleged to be in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Ethan's family, or at least his parents, were alleged to be from Mount Vernon, Washington. And Xana's family was alleged to be from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho as well. Now, is there any report out there that mentioned any of these parents traveling to Moscow later Sunday? Why do I ask this question? Because Jeffrey was 15 minutes from Moscow during this time frame. Yet, there was no mention of Xana's family going to Moscow within that initial time frame. Here's a possible reason as to why. If Jeffrey and Jasmine had gone to Moscow, then obviously they were notified about the murders for one. But also, they would be so close in distance from Pullman to Moscow, it would appear a bit suspicious at face value. They couldn't go to the home because it would reveal that they were informed about the murders. Yet the 911 call didn't even establish anyone was murdered, you see? That is a very hot seat Xana's family is in, Xana's family specifically was right around the corner and even communicated with her that following night. And we've concluded that Xana had called them prior to the attacks. And we can't forget about Ethan's siblings who had attended the party. Someone can correct the chaos if we're wrong here, but where did Ethan's siblings go after the party? If Jeffrey and Jasmine are in the hot seat, then Ethan's siblings are sitting on lava. The primary suspects are from Moscow, with a connection to Pullman, and this is how Koberger was dragged into the plot. Bonnie and Clyde ran around in both states, and Koberger may have been a thorn in the side of the drug traffickers and their operations. That's our take. He was framed due to simply being someone who saw too much. When you see too much, you become a target. That's how the enemy perceives you. If you're not with us, you're against us, the tribal philosophy of the drug culture. Yep, and this includes law enforcement as well, my friends. There were several college students spotted running away from the neighborhood at 3:12 a.m. At 3:15 a.m., the unmarked cruiser leaves the neighborhood. This is when the murders occurred, my friends. They were called for petty vandalism by Charlie Brown and his sidekick, and left that scene around 3:45 a.m. In the gas station surveillance, a white vehicle is spotted speeding at 3:45 a.m. We can suggest the vehicle was speeding to the home. At 3:51 a.m., Dylan adds a new contact in her phone. At 3:56 a.m., a white vehicle is spotted on Queen Road. At 3:59 a.m., the report claims Xana's DoorDash was delivered. None of these vehicles have been identified. Does anyone know what type of vehicle Bonnie drove? We know she drove a black Toyota Corolla in her DUI arrest. In all the surveillance footage released, including the Linda Lane surveillance, we've seen multiple white or light-coloured vehicles. In the neighbour's security camera footage, we've seen white or light-coloured vehicles. What about Clyde? What type of vehicle was he driving? We know his brother in Spokane, Washington, had a white Hyundai Elantra parked in the driveway. All of these white or light-coloured vehicles were driving around in the neighbourhood that night. And since they claim Xana's DoorDash was delivered at 3:59 a.m., and there was a white or light-coloured vehicle spotted at 3:56 a.m. in the neighbour's snapshot, we have to conclude this is the DoorDash driver, and that would be the vehicle Bonnie was driving. And since this wasn't an order Xana made, then obviously the delivery was a ploy to make it appear she was still alive. I mean, what else is there to prove here? In conclusion here, they will continue to kick the can down the road in these hearings, and even when the trial takes place. But the chaos will continue to expose everything they wouldn't dare discuss in a courtroom. Like the obvious, this is the chaos sector.